All right, today's service call is a walk-in freezer that they said is 40 degrees. HTA, high temp alarm. The green light says it is cooling. The orange light is just the alert. You hear the whisk, the whirring. So that's the sound of Freon being pumped through the system. So the solenoid is open. You remember the solenoid is the valve allowing the Freon in this compartment actually open up to let it run through. So it's running through, but we have no fans. So the fans, since they're both off, I don't gather it's that we have a fan failure. Because we generally wouldn't lose both at once. So the fans will lock up and then they won't spin. And since they're both off, probably some sort of power issue. There's also a fan delay relay on this where it keeps the fans off until the coils behind there drop to a certain temperature. So it does that because there's moisture on those coils after a defrost, and if the fans just start, then it's going to blow all that moisture in here, and then you're going to have water on the ceiling, and you're going to have moisture in the air. It's going to freeze. It's going to create issues. So they keep this off until the coil gets 20 degrees or something, and then they come on. So that may be why it's off. I have to go up top and see what's going on because I hear Freon. And even if it was low on Freon, it would be too cold. Let's investigate. Okay, so here is my condensing unit, and that's the cooler. This is the freezer. So, compressor is running. Condenser fan is running. It is running full steam. The frame rate looks funny on the camera. Sight glass definitely looks low. Definitely looks low. It's 36 degrees out here. I don't know what temperature this headmaster control bypass is at, but we've talked about that in a previous video. When it's cold outside, it bypasses. Also, I want to make sure, because again, with our fans not running, are our fans not running because we have an electrical problem or because we have a temperature problem? So, I'm going to take off this electrical panel. We got a defrost clock here. We've talked about these before. This is a different style. Last time we had an analog, but it does the same thing. So right now we got a green light. It thinks it is in refrigeration mode. I would tend to agree with it because it's powering the refrigeration side. So when they're in, it's in refrigeration mode, and when they're out, it's not. And this time clock moves on during the day. This is really stiff. So when we kick it, oh, hear that? That didn't take long. What's weird is it still looks to me like the green light is on. Can't tell whether that's just an illusion. Kick it back on, the solenoid should open up, the unit should start. Starting to wonder if we don't have a defrost timer issue. Okay, let's run through this defrost clock and test it. So underneath, we might be hard for you to see, but so wires in order of number are 3, 1, 2, and 4. And really that's all we're worried about right now. So you can see 1 and 2 are jumped together. That's our power coming in. Okay, so when we are in refrigeration mode, which is inside, which we are, you should have voltage across 1 and 3. All right, so on 1 and 3, 210 volts. Okay, and if we test the heater circuit, which is 1 and 4 or 2 and 4, doesn't matter because they're together, right? We got nothing. So when we take this, flip these switches up and put it into defrost mode. The light should turn red. It's not. The light's staying green, which is very strange. But it stopped. So let's check this out now. 1 and 3. 1 and 3. I still have 210. So my heater should be energized. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. And nothing. Check it again. 1 and 4. Nothing. 1 and 3. 210. So this clock is definitely bad. So I don't know whether that's the core of all the problems. I'm happy to admit when I don't know what I don't know. You know why my fans aren't running? The fans are tied into this. That they shut off and come on around the defrosts. So it could be that the fact that this clock has failed has got us. We do know we were a little low on pressure. On gas. Oh, nice. All right, I am in a defrost right now. Cycle and like unit kicked on. So we're gonna start by changing the defrost timer. See if that doesn't solve the problem. So I decided before I left to run to the parts house to get the defrost timer, I want to clear the sight glass. So I'm hooked up. You can see we're running 10 PSI, which is about 20 below. It's a little low. It should be 25 or 30. I want a negative 10 degree coil. New bottle of Freon. So what I'm going to do is I've got the bottle open. So I'm going to crack this. And it's just going to purge out. If I had anything in the lines, it's just purged it out, purged the air out, and now I've got all 404. So in case I use this manifold for 410 as well. So in case it had 410 in it, I don't want to mix it, I'll blow that out. So we're hooked up here. We're gonna crack this real slow. You're gonna see the Freon come through the middle. We're gonna watch the sight glass. Sight glass is clear. I'm now getting some frost on this. Nice healthy frost like it should be. Don't get me wrong, that timer is absolutely bad. We need to change that. I'm hoping if the fans can cycle on. Right, so now we're running 42, which is 8. And the box temperature is really high. So that's going to affect all this. Alright, I'm going to go downstairs. Well, hang on. So as that TXV inside, there's an expansion valve that's regulating the amount of Freon that comes through. So as it adjusts, it doesn't close all the way, it just adjusts in response to the temperature of the suction line coming back. So as it adjusts, we're going to get some play in the sight glass, and we want to make sure. I'm going to put a little more. Okay, so it's nice and fans are running. If the fans were off in relation to the temperature relay, they may be running, in which case our temperature is going to be pulling down right now. And it's a much better time to run to the parts house. We can get the unit up and running and then change the defrost timer. So now our fans are running. And our box temp is already down to 29. So being so short on Freon, the coil didn't drop in temp low enough, which is a little confusing to me, because conceptually less Freon is less pressure equals way too low of a temperature, and I would have thought the fans come on. So I don't have a definitive good answer for you, but I definitely wanted to fill it first, because to me the fans tied into the compressor and the condenser fan up top, so when the compressor came on, this should have also come on. I am going to go grab that defrost clock, we're going to change it, and then we'll check how it's running when we get back. Okay, I haven't left yet. Sight flash is still clear. My brain is trying to make sense of what we've done, and I have a theory. So to explain a defrost clock, there's a terminal here that is X. X is a defrost termination. That runs down to a temperature probe inside the evaporator coil that senses when the evaporator coil is warm enough that it is no longer in need of a defrost, and it terminates the defrost cycle no matter what the time is set for. So every one of these ticks is 15 minutes. But if it's 20 minutes into the defrost cycle that's supposed to last an hour, and the coil, let's just say it's 40 degrees, and that's the point in which the defrost termination kicks in, then it's going to put it back into refrigeration mode. So here's what I'm thinking. I know the fans inside were not coming on. Likely because the coil was not cold enough. If that coil was not cold enough, that means it was hot. If the coil was too hot, this will prevent a defrost. So what really looked like a bad defrost timer, I want to check something. We're now up and running. We've got a green light across 1 and 3, 210, 1 and 4, nothing. I'm going to keep it on this light and turn it into a defrost. Remember, it wouldn't turn red last time. I think the defrost termination was preventing it. Let's see. Wow. So the camera doesn't show it very well. But that light turned red. I can hear the compressor pumping down, and it's off. So, refrigeration cycle. Nothing. Remember, this was still energized last time. Residual voltage, 10 volts, nothing. This is dead. Heater, we had nothing last time. 210. This defrost clock is not bad. Does that make sense? What looked like a defrost timer that was bad was actually a defrost timer doing its job. If the coil inside was 40 degrees, this terminal says, nope, not gonna let you defrost. You don't need it. It prevented the red light, it prevented the shutdown. And remember, we were filming when it kicked back in. That's because there is a preventive timer on the compressor of a minute. So even when I kick this back in, it takes a certain amount of time. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's a minute. So light turned to green. All right, so in verification, we're now in refrigeration mode. So that's the heater. Heater's now dead. Compressor and evaporator fans, hot, 212. So the only reason it's off right now is because of the delay that's built in to the compressor board. So this will kick on, and I don't have to go waste money on a defrost clock that wasn't the problem. So for a little perspective into the day here, how do we get the equipment up and down? This is our ladder. I've got a rope with a hook. Oh, here we can safely move the equipment up and down. So she's been running for about an hour and a half. Sight glass is clear up top. -2, which isn't cold enough. It's supposed to be 10 below, so she just kicked back in. And the fact that it just kicked back in tells me that it did hit. I think it's actually set for 8 below, but it did hit it because it was off when I came in. But it's at 8 below, I think with a 10-degree differential, so it'll cool down to -8, and then it'll heat 10 degrees above that to about 2 above, and then it'll kick in. So rocking.